Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not. Welcome back to Tubi Horror Weekend 5. And I just want to ask one question. Where the hell has this movie been my whole life? I've heard from some people that this is underrated. I'm going to throw a name out. Cody Leach. Alright, I've thrown his name out before as he's recommended movies to his fans. The Lookout and The Ref were two I can think of off the top of my head, and I've absolutely loved those. The Ref is fantastic. The Lookout is pretty good. But it seems like I should stop sleeping on the movies he recommends because 9 times out of 10, they're movies I also like. They're not going to be for everyone. But he threw this out. Let's see, I'm watching his video. What does it say? 4 months ago? No way. 4 months ago, so it was this year. He did a review for Hollow Man. And I've thought many times to try to buy the DVD, but I never had. And then I saw it was on Tubi, so I'm like, well, I have to have it in this. Should it somehow, be brought up. And then I watched the last movie I did, Come to Daddy, and it wasn't in the movie, actually. It was the next video after I watched Dead Meat's Kill Count for Come to Daddy. It was Tremors, and that was Kevin Bacon. I took that as a sign, right? Sign. Kevin Bacon. Hollow Man. Hollow Man is, for all intents and purposes, a modern day, at least for the time, version of The Invisible Man. It has all the, there's all the kind of connections to the original. The guy's name is Kane instead of Griffin. I don't know. They call it the Hollow Man, so it's not really Invisible Man. And I get it. It's not really a remake, but they're all those things. A man becomes invisible. He starts to use that invisibility to his own ends. He becomes deranged and psychopathic and goes nuts. That's basically what the Invisible Man is. The original Invisible Man, he kills a whole train full of people. In that movie. And while it's not one of my favorite Universal monster movies, Frankenstein and Dracula are up there, I have not watched Bride of Frankenstein. I feel like it should be somewhere. Older movies are harder for me to go back. I love Dracula, but it's old fashioned. It's one of the first sound movies, and there is no score. You get the Swan Lake at the beginning, but there's no score throughout the film. So it's kind of, the rewatchability of that is not so much. You know what I mean? But I feel like this is one of those, in the 90s and early 2000s, with this one, they had a resurgence of the Universal monsters. You had Bram Stoker's Dracula, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Wolf with Jack Nicholson, and there's this movie, right? And so they were kind of the resurgence of the Universal monsters. I don't even know if this is a Universal movie. I forgot to look at it to see. I don't know, but this is one of those things where Kevin Bacon in horror is good. Stir of Echoes, fantastic flick. And now this one came out the year later, the next year. And you not only have Kevin Bacon, you have Josh Brolin, Thanos himself, Elizabeth Shue, Jennifer from Back to the Future. You have Greg Grunberg, who I know from Heroes and Alias, and cameo in the J.J. Abrams Star Wars movies. And then you have William Devane, who has a small cameo in this, but I know him. He used to like L.A. Law. I think he had a couple of roles in Psych. And he was in an episode of the Time Cop TV series, which is, I think, it was an underrated series that should have lasted longer. He's here. We popped up. I'm like, hey, yeah, it's William Devane. All right. Doesn't last long. But, yeah, so the basic story is that they're trying to perfect an invisibility potion of some sort. I don't remember them mentioning why. Maybe they did, and I just didn't pay attention to that. But they have a breakthrough when they don't have a problem making things invisible. they're experimenting on gorillas, but it's bringing them back to visibility again, and they have a breakthrough with the gorilla. And so they take this information to the government, but Sebastian, that's Bacon's character, says that it didn't completely work because he wants to keep the project under his guidance, because he thinks if they are successful, the government's going to take complete control over, which more than not happens. More often will happen. The government sees something, they'll take it. I've seen a lot of movies and TV shows. That happens a lot. So, yeah, his words are justified. I fully believe that. So, he decides to test the invisibility serum on himself. And it's a little bit, I was confused at first because they said it works to turn him invisible. But it looks incredibly painful. Now, Paul Verhoeven directed this film. That's right, Paul Verhoeven. RoboCop, Total Recall, Starship Troopers, Paul Verhoeven. Right? And this is everything you need in Verhoeven. You got gore. You have tits. We'll talk about that. And there's some very well done scenes in this, you know. The score is also good. I did not look to see who did the score. I'm sorry, but it's a pretty good score. And he has some pretty good performances. Kevin Bacon is great. Josh Brolin is great. Elizabeth Shue is great. Even Greg Grunberg, for kind of a side role, he's pretty good. William Devane, for his short, small role, was good. So, yeah, and Kevin Bacon can do really good. He could play nice guy. He could play a guy who's a little off kilter, and then he gets more and more senile, more and more insane as he stays invisible. And, yeah, and it is not entirely his fault, I would say, because they only planned it for him to be invisible for 3 days, and now he's stuck. It'd been 10 days by the time he freaks out, and he gets more and more he's visible, more and more he freaks out. Kind of like with Jack Griffin in the original Invisible Man. The more he was invisible, the more nuts and crazy he became, and so it's driving him insane. The fact that he can't actually leave, you know. And so one of the things I have issue with is that they decide to give him this latex mask and skin stuff so that it's latex skin basically, so that they can see him. And then they put a monitor on him, so even if he's invisible, they can still see his heat, you know, thing. And so that, I don't know, like they're already using CGI to make it. Like you can see like veins and tendons and muscles, and it's 2000 CGI, but it's not as bad as you would think it would be for 2000 CGI. I mean, it's not as good as it could be if we did it now, but it's better CGI than Hulk, which came out 3 years later. Okay, I think it's better looking than that. It looks pretty good. For 2000 CGI, it looks pretty good. So, might even be on par with Hulk, actually, because I don't mind the way Hulk looked in that. I just, you know, they have to make it look like Eric Bana, so it's a little bit uncanny valley when it looks like Eric Bana's face. And then when they did the Hulk in 2008, it was fine. Then they had to make it look like Mark Ruffalo, so it became a little more uncanny. And then when he completely fused with it, you know, Professor Hulk, Smart Hulk, whatever. Yeah, but anyway, it looks pretty good for 2000 CGI. And it's this latex mask thing that he wears. It is just kind of like, why did you need to spend money to make that when you could be invisible for the entire film and just have Kevin Bacon do a voice? And I think it would be cheaper. I mean, they still do effects, CGI effects of like the chair cushion going in and stuff like that, but you know, you just have someone talking to nobody there, you know, but you do this latex mask, which looks fine. It looks fine. It's a little weird, but it looks fine. And, you know, he's invisible. He starts to do the things you would do, or would at least think of doing when you're invisible. He pulls pranks on people, that sort of stuff. But there's one subject I'm going to touch on, because while it's a taboo subject to do, you cannot sit there and admit that you wouldn't at least think about it. And that is you're invisible, so you can spy on women, and then you can go in and you can. Mm, mm, mm. He does that to one of the women there, and it's a little weird to see. You get a little booby popping out. It's the only. No, you get boobs later. You get Rona Mitra's boobs. Weird cameo from her, but yeah, it's subtle. He comes in, you see the shirt unbuttoning, and then you see the boob come out, and then you can see it sort of getting touched and moved, and then she wakes up and she's like, freaks out, and she knows that he did something. Now, that's still technically, rape, molestation. He touched her without, but I know that most people would think, hey, if I'm invisible, I can see a woman naked, and they wouldn't inherently. Their first thing wouldn't be going to touch them or rape them, but it would be, if I'm invisible, I can peep on naked women. That would be the thing. It wouldn't be, I'm gonna molest a woman when I'm invisible. No, it's more, I can peep on naked women. It's one of those teenager things. Oh, if I was invisible, I'd sneak into the girls' locker room and watch them undress. That sort of thing is what I'm trying to say. But going as far as to actually molest them, no. No, I don't think, unless you're a real freak, like someone who belongs behind bars freak, I don't think, even the human mind, I get he's going more and more deranged, but this was like a day or two after he went down. And it gets worse, because like I said, there's Rona Mitra's character, where it's his neighbor who he sees undressing. He goes over there, and you say tits, you see her getting attacked, and then it cuts, and it's implied that he molested her. And then there's even a dream sequence that Elizabeth Shue has, where her stuff's getting unbuttoned, and her underwear's coming down, and her legs open, and she jumps out of the dream. And it's a dream. I'm like, is he really doing this right now? And no, it's a dream. And another thing I have an issue with, and this is an issue, but another thing I have an issue with is the whole relationship between Matt and Elizabeth Shue. It's Josh Brolin and Elizabeth Shue. From the beginning, we see that they are in a relationship. And he sees that there's someone there, but he doesn't know who it is. And he doesn't find out till later. My issue is, they take too long to show that revelation to Sebastian. I keep wanting to call him Jack, because Jack Griffin. They could have called him Jack Kane. Just call him Jack. I don't know. What's his name? Jack in Stir of Echoes? I don't remember, but that Sebastian, it's like 3/4 of the way through he finds this out, and by then he's completely deranged. I just feel like he should have found out when he was still before the procedure, or maybe like right away he sees them, because there's a point where they go to kiss and she's like, no, he can be here, but yeah, I think it just takes too long for that revelation to be shown to him. But so it's not a problem with the relationship. Nobody together, that's fine. And then you get this big climax. It's very slow going, science fiction-y stuff. And then when it's time for the finale, everyone just dies. Like the African American lady, I don't know her name, I'm sorry. She dies, and then you get the fuzzy-headed guy, he dies. Grunberg dies. Everybody dies. It seems like Josh Brolin dies, but he comes back in the end to help Elizabeth Shue. The one lady that he gropes earlier dies. And then it's Elizabeth Shue and Josh Brolin to get away. And the climax is where I have my biggest problem. I think it goes on a little too long to me. So, and it kind of starts a little off. So, Sebastian's plan is that he's going to set this nitro stuff to blow up the place. And so, he's the only one that has security to get out, I guess, but, because he's hacked it. At one point, he hacks the camera so it appears that he's still there, but he's not. And then he hacks the elevator so he's the only one that can use it. And so his plan is to set the place to blow up and leave. But he decides he's going to leave putting on the latex stuff in a disguise and walk out. And he gets stopped because they can see him. Do you already see how stupid this plan is? If you were invisible, you could just walk into the elevator, call the command, go up, you're out. You're free, you're invisible, but you're free. You can go back to your place and get like a jacket or something, a hood, put on a ski mask, something. I don't know. But I understand the reason why he puts the mask on. It's because he wants to have it with him. But I feel like it's more like he's invisible. It would be something. And then they have to go all the way through with showing you that he dies. Because it appears like he dies, he gets electrocuted. And then Josh Brolin and Elizabeth Shue, they realize, I don't remember the character's name, sorry, Matt. Matt is Josh Brolin's character. I don't remember her name. But they realize it's going to blow the place up. So they climb up. They say there's a ladder in the elevator shaft. So they start climbing the elevator shaft. The thing blows. The elevator goes right past them. Scrapes Elizabeth Shue on the arm. Then it's going to come back down. I'm like, we'll go to the side. But it's coming down erratic. So they're going to have to be careful. It comes back down. And it misses them. And it gets stuck. And then they're going to climb back up again. And this would have been something if they just climb up, escape, end the movie that way. With it implied like, oh, maybe he's dead, maybe he's not. They could have a government official guy goes, oh, we went down to the lab and looked through everything. We couldn't find Sebastian's body. Unless he was invisible. But we couldn't find Sebastian's body. We even used the heat thing. Because you could see the tendons and stuff when he died, like his muscles and stuff, so he's starting to become visible again. Which is only because we're going to have this climax. And they could have said, oh, we couldn't find his body anywhere. We even used the heat, vision stuff. Nothing. So he could have gotten out. Instead of a sequel, which there is one, it's a standalone sequel. But no, they go all the way. So every time it's supposed to imply that Sebastian is sneaking up on someone, you can see the camera's point of view. So all of a sudden you see a camera point of view behind Elizabeth Shue, and I went, really? Yeah, he's still alive, but he's not invisible. He's still got the tendons and stuff sticking out. He grabs her, pulls her down, and they both fall onto the elevator. There's a scuffle, and then he's like, how about one last kiss for one time's sake? I want to know what his plan here after the kiss was. This was also she can grab the cables on the elevator, detach them, and he falls with it as she goes up, and they escape. And they don't show them escaping, he just cuts to them walking out of the building with paramedics and everything showing up. And then the credits just start scrolling. They're like, oh, okay, that's just the end? Oh, okay. Maybe they were like, oh yeah, this is going on for too long, let's just end it. Overall, I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was pretty good. There's another one on the list that I have to save, and I have to buy it, because this was good. And I know there's a sequel, so if I eventually do a sequel upon 4, God help us if I do that, but also that will have to be on the list. Or I could just do just do the movie. I don't know. But yeah, this was a fun watch. I really enjoyed it. It's one of those, don't sleep on it. If you got this far, I should have told you at the beginning of this. Watch the movie. It is great. Even for 2000 CGI effects, it's still good. I think they're fine for what they are. I mean, the CGI effects in this movie from the year 2000 are better than anything in an Asylum film now. Yeah. Better than Sharknado? Sure. You know what I mean? But, yeah, and so once again I'm at an impasse. Unless watching these reviews, I get an inkling for something else. I'm going to watch some reviews for Hollow Man, but until then, I don't know what I'm doing next. So I'll have to peruse what I have in my stuff, what it's called on there, on Tubi, and figure it out. So until then, what are your thoughts on How I Met? Let me comment, so much like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'm Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.